So I'm just settling into this new ship out of Strasbourg. Been on board, they let us board at 4:30. And I'm glad I spent an hour and a half or so researching the COVID regulations for Germany. And I screenshot Google Maps to show how the river we're going up, the Rhine, I think it is, could be the Rhine, but I think it's the Rhine. It doesn't really matter to me. But it's a boundary between France and Germany. So when we go up, we'll be on the right-hand side. We'll actually be in Germany going up, and we'll be France coming back. So I checked all the regulations, and I went onto the German government website, and I filled in the online application for permission to enter Germany. That then came back with a code so that I could load up relevant documents. So I loaded up my Australian government vaccination certificate. I also loaded up the French pass sanitaire from the pharmacist, in which the French pharmacist certified that the Australian vaccines were an equivalency of the French European vaccines. So I loaded all that up, and a result of that was the document that I have online and on my phone and on computer shows that, provided I've only been in a high-risk country, and Germany calls France a high-risk country now, then I only need to be double vaxxed to enter Germany. It's only the case if Germany has designated another country a particular virus strain risk, then one needs a negative test prior to entry and to isolate upon entry. And France is not designated a particular viral strain list by Germany. I knew all of that, checked all of that, had the certificate online, and I provided my French pass sanitaire, my Australian government vaccination certificate, and my German entry form, which said that I was okay coming in with either a negative test or a double vaccine. Nevertheless, when I got on board, they shoved under my nose a consent form for a test at some time between now and when I enter Germany. So I sat down and I ended up going into my cabin and re-looking up the German rules and re-looking at my stuff. And I didn't want to bother the concierge while they were still busy. People are still coming on board. But I've just gone back and I've just showed him my German entry certificate, and it's all good. I don't need another test. There's a couple of reasons I don't want one. One is they shove that thing up your nose, and I've had, 5 or 6 of them over the last 2 years because I travel all over, and everybody seems to want some fresh new bloody test before they'll let me out my house to run my dog. And I had one in St Malo before I was going to Jersey, which was rendered nugatory anyway. And so I didn't want one because sometimes it's quite unpleasant. The other reason I don't want one is it's perfectly possible that I'm an asymptomatic COVID victim. The chances of that are high because I travel halfway around the world and mix with, well, not a million different people, but a lot of different people. And of course, the chances are escalated because I'm double vaccinated. It's perfectly possible I've got the virus and it's having no effect on me. I certainly don't feel any effects. But the consequences of a positive test would be a complete disaster for the rest of my travels. So I want to avoid it for that reason alone. And I still mask up, so if I have it, I'm not passing it on. And anyway, it's all good. So I'm on the cruise, and we're going to depart, and I'm not going on any, either of the 2 shore excursions. I don't need to bother, but I'm going to go for a run, so I'll get off the ship and I'll go for a run on those days. So all good. Those who go to Wednesday lunch would recall how we have this conversation how in Australia we don't use corks anymore, generally speaking. and it always feels like you're unscrewing the top. It's not really the best wine, but the best wines in Australia now are using just seals instead of corks. Well, and so I'd never bother tasting them. I always say to people, if it's bad, I'll tell you about it. Anyway, they just opened a fresh bottle for me, and the first sip, you're never quite sure if it's you or if it's the wine. I'm tasting it, it's just like, and it was corked, because they still use corks here. And the waitress immediately smelled it, said, yes, it is, poured herself her own little sip, and poured the rest of the bottle down the sink. So I feel a bit guilty about it, but I'm glad I was right. I'm glad she agreed with me. So there are 6 cruises leaving Strasbourg tonight. These are smaller boats than those for cruising the Seine. Some are going upstream and some are going downstream, apparently. And there goes boat number 2 behind me. It's all a bit passé. But I'm here to see the country, here to eat good French food, and this is much less stressful than driving on what for me is the wrong side of the road. I have a few drinks, don't have to worry about getting home, and the cuisine on the quasi cruises is specifically designed to be ultra good quality French only food, exactly what I want. So whilst I have done it for 4 or 5 nights already from Paris to Honfleur, this Alsace-Lorraine territory is different territory. The ambience is similar, but I'm happy with that too. I'm sort of amazed at the, what's the word I'm looking for? Words that we use as a little bit of a, funny saying like tout sweet. Like, that just came over the announcement, tout sweet. And there was a woman who was 2 seats down from me a minute ago. She was saying something, I can't remember now, but these are sort of things that we parrot and paraphrase a bit, and so one is reluctant to use them when one's speaking French. I remember she was on the phone to a friend and she said, "Ooh la la." Now, nobody in England or Australia says that unless they're sort of paraphrasing Jaja Jabour, but apparently it's normal conversation here. And I've just given my seat to an elderly gentleman because he was there with family and friends, and they were getting stools, and it was just, so I stood up and came to the bar. Making more friends, I hope. And as I sit at the bar, I see these red and orange things, which I cannot imagine anything worse to drink and waste good alcohol consumption on drinking. I don't know what they are. I suppose I should taste them, but I know what they're going to taste like, so I won't bother. I don't need to jump off a cliff to know I don't want to do it. Now, I did not choose this table. There was a woman about 4 or 5 before me coming into the dining room, wanted to change where she was sitting, and it sort of distressed the crew and everybody waiting while she had a go. I did not choose this table, but I did choose my seat. Let me show you where it is. And so my back is to the wall, which is my perfect spot, as everybody who knows me knows. And I'm on this table by happy accident, but I was able to choose my seat as I was first here. So as I said to people around me, je suis le roi de Australia, although we have no rois in Australia, and everybody's laughing. So it's all good, and this is a great seat for me because I can see what's going on everywhere. How many times have you seen the vineyards of this river valley on TV? And I wake up this morning, 9 o'clock, and there they are. So it's just like all the travel shows, really. Check this place out. No money in growing wine. And then we've got, coming up in the middle of the river, imagine being the guy, oh there's rocks there too, imagine being the guy with the crossbow in there. No idea what this town's called. I wonder if that's a temperature. 28.4 Celsius, Fahrenheit, below freezing. Quite a decent current flowing. And naturally on the top of the hill, there's the ubiquitous fortress. Says it's a hotel. So certainly easier than a drive through the Rhine Valley. And there are some things you just have to take pictures of. The ubiquitous castle top. Lorelei. I tell you what, it's a mighty rough bit of river. It looks like we're turning around here. That explains my Google Maps, which showed us further downstream than our lunchtime destination. And I was puzzled about the accuracy of my maps. Check those terraces up there. Reminds you of a Chinese rice field. So, looks like Lorelei's as far as we come. I'm going to go and have a run on the top deck now. So I've just had my run around the top deck and a shower. I get out the shower, I see this castle on the hill and I go, oh, saw that before on the way up. But of course that's not possible because I'm on the same side of the boat, which means that's on a different side to the one I was before. So I've had my run and it's actually not very cold out there. I'm quite warm. I've got a couple of singlets on and a long sleeve and also my ski pants. Just before lunch, I'm meeting these... Excusez-moi, vous dites votre nom pour la vidéo s'il vous plaît?
Dani.
Et...
Françoise.
Bonjour.
Photo souvenir.
Busy river. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît. We are moored here for the night. It's supposed to be a special place, doesn't mean anything much to me, but it's on the Rhine. And I'm coming to a point. Every time I pack up my bag, which has a zipper on it, the announcement. It doesn't sound like the announcement's going to stop for a while. They're announcing and talking about the trip that's going ashore to the Mechanical Museum, which I'm not going to bother. I've been to so many different places that I don't need to go there. But my suitcase zip, it keeps working under great difficulty. Every time I pack it, I virtually have to sit on it, and I keep waiting for it to stop. What I didn't expect was my leather jacket zip to, I don't even know when it broke, because at some point it was working, and then at some later point it just stopped. So I've got the nail clippers out. I'm going to have to snip the top of it to get the slidey bit off the top and then reload it. Otherwise I can't wear the jacket. The last day or so I've actually been leaving it halfway and putting it on like a woolly jumper instead of a leather jacket. So I'm going to fix it now. So the plan, and I've just cut with my nail zippers that there, and now I'm going to do the other side. Hopefully the thing will slide off, and then I'll just be able to slide it back on one side down to the bottom and start the zip again. It's going to plan so far. I got that off, just got to thread it on the one side and down the bottom, because this bit just goes into the zipper thing. And then when I get back to Australia, I'll just have to sew that bit back together so it doesn't come off at the top. Well, that all went well. It's one of those things I've been thinking about how to do for a couple of days, and it's back in action. As long as I don't zip it right up to the neck, I'll be fine.